YouTube, today I'm going to tell you the story of a recent case coming out of Australia. The person in question is Miraj Zafar. He took the life of his wife. Now, I say wife, we're not too sure on their status. Could be wife, could be girlfriend, but they kind of did elope, so to speak. They did and they didn't, but that's the best way to describe it from a Western context. Now, it's alleged that he took the life of his girlfriend, wife, whatever, and then dumped her body in acid. Harnima Hayat's body was found in the apartment she shared with Miraj, and it was found on January the 30th, 2022 in North Parramatta in Sydney. It was reported that the officers entered the apartment, they go to the bathtub, around 4:30 p.m. on January the 30th, and they see her body face down in the tub. Now, when the police dug a little deeper, they found 20 liters of hydrochloric acid nearby. And then they went to certain stores nearby. One of them is called Bunnings in North Mead, which is kind of like a DIY store in Australia, kind of like a Home Depot. Right here in America, B&Q, if you're in England. They looked at the CCTV footage and they found Miraj in the store that morning of January 30th buying a whole bunch of this acid. And it was said later that day he actually returned to the same store buying a whole bunch of tubes, cartons or whatever it is of this hydrochloric acid. And it was said that he used the same credit card. He was driving a white truck, and the police assume that on that day he murdered her. He took her life around 12 to 5 p.m. Miraj himself, he's an apprentice builder, which probably explains how he knows about the hydrochloric acid. I don't know anything about construction, building, bricks, whatever. I know nothing about it, but I'm guessing when it comes to chemicals, you probably pick up a few things here or there. If he was like a, novice builder. Well, it was said that before he took her life, he called his own parents and he said, "We've had an argument and she's turning pink." But what's interesting is they said to him, "Okay, why don't you call an ambulance?" And then they called the police. So, two things here. Either he told them then in that conversation, "Hey, look, she's dead," right? Or, and then they called the police, sorry. Or, if he said she's turning pink, we've had an argument, they probably knew something physical happened. So then the question is why? How? Like if somebody calls me, if one of my friends calls me and says, "Hey, I got into an argument with my girl," I'd say, "Bruv, shut the fuck up, get over it." Right? Because that's my boy. I know him. But if it was someone that you knew who was quite the violent type, who was, had a short fuse, then I guess your concern would be a lot higher. And I am inferring, I'm guessing, this isn't for sure, but I think at that moment their parents thought, "Wait, did he actually kill her? Oh fuck." Because they knew the dynamic of the relationship was quite a toxic one, which I'm coming on to. And probably that's why they called the police. Like if you were to call me and tell me, "Hey, my brother isn't feeling well," or "My wife isn't doing great right now," the last thing I'm going to think is, well, maybe we should call the police. It'd be like, "Get help, ambulance." You see what I'm saying, right? So when the police actually find the body, they decide to conduct a citywide search for Miraj. And it is said that during this search, he had actually gone to his parents' house. And when he's there, it was alleged that his mother saw bruising on his arms. He then goes on to reconfirm to his parents, "I had a fight with my wife," and I'm guessing at this point he confirmed she's now dead. The parents tell him, "Hey, look, go turn yourself in." He then calls the police and he says, "Okay, I will turn myself in." And then later he goes to Bankstown police station and turns himself in. So after the police initially questioned him, they gathered that the 4 months that they've been married, living together, their relationship was quite up and down. They were continuously arguing, and I think this was a runaway marriage. From what I know, her parents were not happy with him. So her parents are Bengali descent, right? Which is very similar to the Pakistani culture. I'm a Pakistani man myself. My family is from Pakistan. So her having a boyfriend is something her parents would have frowned upon. Him having a girlfriend is probably something his parents would have frowned upon. In terms of the liberal nature of each parent, I don't know. Maybe one of the parents were like, "I don't like it, but you know what? I'll live with it." Right? And it could be a case that her parents were like, "I don't like this, so I'm going to disown you." I don't know. But looking at the parents, to me, the girl's parents, that is, to me, they just seem like they loved her and they thought to themselves, "Okay, we don't want you to date other guys, not yet until you're married or when you're older, right? And we don't want you to mess around, drink and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, we love you and we're always here for you. So if you want to go and do this, go do it." You know what I mean? So I think they accepted it just to keep her happy. Even though they are living with it and accepting it, they didn't attend the wedding. So when the police spoke to the parents of Amina, they said that they told her to stay away from Miraj, not because they didn't want her to date per se, but their main issue with Miraj was that he was just an aggressive, arrogant individual, and there was just a vibe about him they didn't like. They realized that ever since she met him, she went from a sociable teenager going to school, coming home, being happy, to just becoming depressed and miserable. She became socially withdrawn the more and more she got to know Miraj. See, the family themselves, they were originally in Bangladesh and then they moved to Australia in 2006. The father came first, then the mother came with Amina. So the point I'm making is that they've grown up in a relatively conservative environment. They then bring their children to Australia, which is a far more liberal environment, right? This isn't a criticism, it's just an observation of the reality. So Amina is caught between a clash of civilizations, so to speak, where she's grown up with this conservative idea where she needs to get married in due time, get her education, or now she lives in a place where, well, she doesn't need to get married, she doesn't necessarily need her education, she's free to make her own choices. And I think what happened is that Miraj met her, Miraj fell in love with her, and then Miraj himself, who has a very similar upbringing too, conservative at home, liberal outside the home, so he's trying to figure out in his head, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Right, what is wrong, I don't know. So I think in the case of Miraj, for some reason, his parents ingrained in him the idea that he needs to get married, or marriage to him would be the solution to any problem he had in life. Right? Marriage for Muslims, marriage is half your religion. So I think this is something they would have ingrained in him, and he thought, all right, I found this girl, I like her, I want to get married. But what he couldn't let go was his own liberal lifestyle, because he still wanted to go out and have girlfriends. He still wanted to go out and drink alcohol, which he continued to do so when they were living together. And that's one of the reasons why they wouldn't get along in the house. This isn't a religious argument I'm making. I'm trying to say that both of them had their own fundamentals and they just clashed. I mean, it was also said that during her 4-month stay at his place or their place, she called some of her relatives in New York and she complained that he is a good guy sometimes, but sometimes he can be quite physical and quite aggressive. Now, she didn't go to her parents and say this because she knew, one, it would upset her parents, and two, then it was just like, it's easier for her to just tell someone outside of the family so she can get advice and maybe just get it off her chest than tell her parents, who might come to the house and cause commotion. But also, she didn't have any friends to tell, because at this point, she had left all her friends. She devoted her entire life to him because she was in love, and that was the problem why the parents couldn't do anything. When you got two young teenagers who are in love, as a parent, there's actually nothing you can do apart from be patient and let it ride out. Unfortunately for her parents, them being patient and them waiting for her to mature and grow up, well, it ended in this. Now, on April the 5th is the next court hearing for Miraj, and he's probably going to spend the rest of his life in jail. I mean, in Australia, he'd probably get 20 years, right? 20 years is life in jail. It's the semantics. Like in America, life in jail would mean life, whereas in Australia, I think they say 20 years without parole or something like that, right? But the chances are that he will probably never see daylight again. But I look at Miraj, and I see a 20 or a young kid, sorry, good looking lad, obviously works out, but I think he was caught between not being able to handle love. He saw this girl, enamored by her, right? Besotted by her. He wanted her. But I think he also wanted to control her because he didn't know how to handle the emotions. Probably was insecure, constantly thinking about other men around her. He probably was insecure, thinking, fuck, I still want to go out and party and drink and have other girls, but then I also want to come home to have my, obedient conservative wife. You understand what I'm saying? I think he was caught between this dynamic, and this was the only solution that he could find. Now, I'm guessing the trigger was maybe an argument they had. Maybe she said something to him like, look, I want to leave you. Maybe, I don't know. The information hasn't come out. This is a fresh case. But we can all agree that even if she did say, look, bro, I've had enough. See you later. What the fuck are you doing, Miraj? I got no sympathy for you. You asked for this. You wanted this. It was your fault for going out, finding her in the first place, leaving your parents so you can be with her, making her leave her parents so she can go be with you. You asked for this, so you have to live with the consequences. I hope any of this made sense. Like, I try to explain this from a cultural point of view, because to you who are not Pakistani or Bengali or from South Asia, you could just see this as, a depraved random act by a young man with a girl. But no, for me, when I looked at this, all I saw was just a fucking idiot who didn't know how to handle the predicament he put himself in.